Welcome, everyone. Very good. So, yes, I am Dan Huss. That's me. I prefer this to my headshot. I am the founder and CEO of this company, gravityAI, which I will talk a little bit about. And the guessing game here about AI and the drinking game is pretty apt. Who here has heard of AI before? Yeah. I'm obviously joking because everyone's talking about AI. I own an AI company, and I'm tired of talking about AI. It's pretty remarkable. Why is that? Why are we all talking about AI? Well, we are now in a period where we've gone from the 2000s, which were very, very much characterized by institutional control of artificial intelligence and data science more broadly. Essentially, the large companies with access to the most data science talent and infrastructure were able to leverage these types of tools. And the 2010s, we saw the emergence and expansion of AI access and data science for engineers more broadly, but still very, very much controlled by data scientists. And now, in the 2020s, we're getting this kind of expanded view of ubiquitous access for not just the engineering teams, but for product teams, essentially. My favorite analogy is comparing this to the journey that we went through in the early web. Web 1.0, if you all remember. Actually, Kevin mentioned I worked together very much at the beginning of this transition from 1.0 to 2.0. It was characterized by if you wanted to make a change to a website, you sent a ticket request to this dude, because this dude was the only person who had the power and the knowledge because he knew how to code in order to make a change on a website, right? He would go in and edit the HTML and the CSS. So if you were a business person, you were like, this sucks. This isn't working very well because there's a typo that's been on the homepage for 6 weeks, and I just want to fix that typo, but it's sitting in some sort of ticket. So enter the transition into Web 2.0, right? With the expansion of things like WordPress and Drupal in the early days. Basically, these are content management systems. So in this scenario, the content management systems made it so it took the control out of the hands of this individual and gave it to pretty much anybody. Anyone who actually can go, update something. Applaud for my mom. She's wonderful. She actually cannot go build a website, though, despite what I'm saying here. I often refer to this as the tech accessibility curve. And what we saw essentially was Web 1.0 and then 2.0, and we're sort of in 3.0 now. I think there's some questions about what that means, but the longer that technology is around, the more ubiquitous it gets and more accessible for individuals. So where are we right now in terms of AI? Well, we are just at the cusp of that same kind of transition from the 1.0 to the 2.0, which is why we're talking about this and why everybody is talking about it, because access has become substantially more broad. With that comes different types of new technologies and new opportunities. Low-code platforms that leverage these types of things. New UI paradigms. We were just talking, Andy and I, that soon you might just have a UI that is chat. That's it. You don't interface with certain things in the way that we used to. New ecosystems and networks. These are entirely new platforms that are going to emerge out of this. And if you believe Kathy Wood in her TED Talk, where she talks about the convergence of 5 major pillars, we're going to see unprecedented productivity growth and world economic growth with AI being one of those 5 pillars. And of that 10 trillion in gross revenue that's going to be generated, she claims that half of this is going to these types of platform companies. It's because we've entered the age of what I have coined the AI creator community. Just like we've always had the creator community as part of web creators and YouTube creators, content creators, there are billions of views on YouTube videos about prompt engineering, building your own AI agents and apps, whole creator communities, building custom GPTs and launching them. It's kind of amazing. And that is essentially why we built gravityAI, my company. We essentially take out-of-the-box AI apps, so think large language models, AI art generation, but also some of the more mundane stuff like text extraction and OCR, lifetime value calculations, different types of sentiment analysis. You upload them into the platform, we containerize them, and then you can select different models from the repository and bring them all together to deploy them. We're basically taking your messy bits of code, probably Python or R code or Julia, and through a UI layer, allowing you to upload that code to our platform, which then we automatically containerize and allow you to access through the automatically built APIs in the repository. Or you can just select from any of the pre-built models, such as these, grab one like a puzzle piece, and bring it together with other models on the platform because they all have a similar API and we're all able to communicate together, essentially allowing you to do what used to take millions of dollars and years in weeks. I should know, I built a very large AI platform at one of the largest financial institutions called State Street as their head of product, and we had 26 different models strung together, and it took 4 years to build that and $26 million. Don't tell anyone. What we're doing at gravityAI is essentially giving you a full team of ML engineers. And ML engineers are the new hotness. In the 2010s, sorry, are there any data scientists in here? Are there any ML engineers in here? Okay, so the saying goes, data scientists was the sexiest title of the 2010s, ML engineers the sexiest title of the 2020s. But this is all extremely hard to do, right? Being able to automatically containerize, build APIs around this. And I am a CEO and product manager. I am absolutely not a data scientist or DevOps expert. So I really couldn't have done this on my own. I had some wonderful help from my CTO and co-founder, John, seen here as an anime villain. Of course, an enormous amount of support from AWS and our long and very good friends over at Stratus 10, who really have been instrumental as a kind of partner and liaison of ours to the rest of AWS because our architecture is complicated. And while John is an absolute brilliant engineer with a lot of DevOps experience, here's the reality. AWS has a lot of stuff, right? Like a lot. And it is very difficult to keep up with everything. So having an expert partner like these guys allows us to make sure that we're on top of everything. Our engagement with Stratus 10 early on, we obviously did a well-architected review with them. And as Kevin mentioned, one of the core benefits is performance optimization. I am a startup. This matters. All that money that we might be saving super matters. And of course, they help us with things like making sure that everything is secure, essentially like any of the major operations around things, monitoring, and one of the most important elements in obviously any kind of AI situation is performance, right? Like performance is super important. Not to mention, they helped us connect to AWS's startup programs. Give me those sweet, sweet credits, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Which I wouldn't have never known had we not worked together with them. So I'm not going to go through everything, but we use a ton of these services. And these services are just a handful of some of the things that we leverage. Again, not a DevOps expert, but from a business standpoint, when I talked to my CEO about why we've been doing this, one, honestly, as a startup, like there was low financial risk of implementing in AWS for us, not just because of the startup credits, although that is extremely helpful, but because of the way things are set up, it allows us to just scale up and scale down as we need to. And as my CTO would point out for many, many things in the platform, like it's just very, very easy to implement. So some of the things that we leverage that were on that screen. CloudFront, obviously this is a fantastic CDN. We're a very big fan of CloudFront. We've been using it for a long time. I also like it because it's super affordable. I think last time I checked, it's probably one of the most affordable CDNs to hook up. Like $3 to $4 a month, something like that. It's pretty crazy. EKS, Elastic Kubernetes. Super, super easy to launch a cluster. And then we use Carpenter, which helps us launch instances of our AI models. So this is like core to us being able to spin up any of the AI that's on the platform and allow you to run it. We use ECS with Fargate. This is essentially containerizing our entire application. My favorite thing on here, 90% of our server tech needs are met. And the last one I want to call out here is Lambda. Again, extremely important in this age of artificial intelligence. Spin your CPUs up, allows you to have the serverless compute, and most importantly, obviously paying only for the compute that you're using, which is incredibly important because AI is expensive. It is super expensive. Over to you. What do you think it costs to spin up an instance to run something like Llama 2 70 billion, which is the open source model one of the versions of the open source model that was released by Meta? What do you think? 100K? 100K? So we're not far off. At the absolute minimum, and with very, very bad performance, you're talking 42K. Most likely, you're in the hundreds of thousands, and we're talking about running one instance of this, right? Anything larger than that, you're running on probably in the millions, if not billions. The amount of server time that OpenAI uses is absolutely insane. It's in the hundreds of millions. And to train ChatGPT one single time because of all those server costs and running day and night for weeks has the same amount of emissions as thousands of trips back and forth between New York and London. Bonkers.
Can you get that price down with pre-committed discounts to the hyperscalers?
This is like the $4.628 level, which is a full year commitment. Okay. Yeah. Without the full year commitment, it is $7, so it's almost double. 80,000 at least. I'm not sure. You might be able to get it down. Okay. That's a great question for your AWS folks. One of the reasons for this is because we're talking GPUs, GPU usage. This is our graphics processing units, right? This stuff is flying off the shelf. These are extremely important in order to run these models. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting and just waiting for them to run very, very slowly, if you can run them at all. And as I'm sure a lot of folks in this room are aware of, there's a pretty massive shortage of GPUs. They are getting gobbled up left and right. They are not being able to produce them simply fast enough. It's really gotten to the point where when I talk to other startup founders who are buying GPUs, or even the AI lab at San Diego State University who's trying to get GPUs, it feels like they're talking about like a shady dealer who has like, hey, I've got the good GPUs in the back. Thank you, Dolly, for this image. Which has one of the major trends of switching to cloud-based GPUs, obviously, that someone like AWS offers. One challenge that we've had with cloud-based GPUs is that, and I know that this is being worked on there at AWS in particular, unlike Lambda, we can't spin them up and spin them down yet, so it is quite expensive. So gravityAI built something that we refer to as Gravity Lambda, just internally, that allows us to spin them up and spin them down, which is a kind of important thing for us when running those large language models because of the sheer need for usage-based GPU pricing, which, again, I know is probably coming relatively soon, I hope. So with this newfound knowledge, this idea that the AI creator community is growing, you're seeing all these opportunities of new platforms. With partners like us, gravityAI, AWS, Stratus, I'm curious, how are you thinking about yourselves being part of this new AI creator community? Because the opportunity is huge. I'll take questions. Thank you.